The last summer night. It was supposed to be our final night together before college. One last summer memory before we scattered across the country, before real life started. The kind of night that was meant to feel endless. The lake shimmered under the last blush of daylight, the air thick with the smell of smoke and sunscreen. My friends, Mason, Kayla, Dylan, and I, had built a fire by the water, passing around cheap beer and talking about everything and nothing. I remember how alive everything felt. The crackle of the fire, the hum of crickets, the way the moon hung low and orange, almost watching us. I remember thinking it felt too perfect, like the kind of calm you get before something breaks. It started with the smell. A heavy, wet stench rolled through the trees, sickly sweet, like meat left out in the sun. Dylan gagged and joked that it was probably a raccoon. Mason grabbed a flashlight and said he'd check it out, disappearing into the tree line with that lazy grin of his. We waited. 10 minutes, then 20. When we called for him, the woods answered back. "Guys, come here. You got to see this." It was Mason's voice, but something was off. It sounded too calm, too flat. Kayla frowned. "That's not him." The voice came again, this time from deeper in the woods. Then, seconds later, from across the lake. The exact same tone, the exact same words. "Guys, come here. You got to see this." The firelight flickered like the wind was holding its breath. Dylan grabbed a stick and started yelling Mason's name. That's when we heard footsteps, slow, dragging footsteps, coming from behind us. We turned. Mason stumbled out of the woods, pale as paper. His hands were filthy, trembling. His mouth opened and closed, but only a soft, broken croak came out. His eyes weren't looking at us. They were fixed on something behind the fire. And then we saw it. Something stepped out of the trees, moving with this jerky, unnatural rhythm, like it was learning how to walk. It was tall, at least 7 feet, and thin, bones pressing against its skin. Its face was wrong, too smooth, too stretched. And its grin, God, that grin, it was Mason's. Kayla screamed. Dylan ran. The fire blew out as if smothered by invisible hands. I bolted for the lake, heart slamming against my ribs. I could hear it behind me. Something wet and heavy dragging through the dirt, whispering my name in Mason's voice. "Come here. You got to see this." I dove into the water, the cold hitting me like a slap. I didn't stop swimming until the shore disappeared. When I finally turned back, the fire was gone. The camp was gone. And the thing that looked like Mason was standing at the edge of the water, still smiling, even as the sun began to rise. They never found my friends. Their cars, tents, and phones were still there, but no bodies. The police said it was probably an accident. I didn't argue. I just left. It's been 3 years since that night. I don't go near lakes anymore. But sometimes when summer heat presses against the windows and the air smells thick and rotten, I hear it again, faint, echoing through the dark. "Come here. You gotta see this." The heat doesn't hide the dead. It was one of those blistering summer nights when the air feels like it's pressing down on you, thick and wet. The cicadas screamed from the trees, and the smell of lake water and hot asphalt mixed into something heavy. I'd driven out to my cousin's old lake house to spend a few days away from the city. No Wi-Fi, no noise, just me and the heat. By the second night, I'd started to regret it. The stillness wasn't peaceful. It was suffocating. Every sound seemed to echo. The wood creaked, the screen door rasped, the wind moved like it was breathing against the house. At around midnight, the power cut out. Just like that, everything went black. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped outside to check the fuse box. The night air was burning, like the humidity itself was alive. The lake shimmered under a thin layer of fog, even though fog shouldn't form in that kind of heat. That's when I saw someone standing near the water line, barefoot, still. At first, I thought it was a reflection, maybe my eyes playing tricks, but the figure didn't move the way reflections do. It tilted its head, slow and wrong, like it was curious. The light from my flashlight flickered, and when it steadied again, the person was gone. I turned around fast, scanning the trees, the dark, the shadows. Nothing. Just the crackle of insects and the whisper of the lake licking at the shore. I tried to convince myself it was nothing. The heat, dehydration, exhaustion. But as I headed back toward the house, I saw wet footprints leading up the porch steps. My porch. I froze. The prints stopped right at the door. The same door I'd left open behind me. When I pushed it shut, the hinges moaned. Inside, the air was heavier than before, like the whole house was holding its breath. The flashlight beam caught droplets of water on the floorboards, glistening, leading down the hallway toward my bedroom. My skin felt like it was crawling off my bones. I wanted to run, but I didn't. I followed the trail. Every few steps, the boards creaked louder, like something else was moving in rhythm with me. When I reached the doorway, I stopped breathing. Someone was standing in front of the open window, dripping lake water onto the wooden floor. Their hair hung long and dark, their clothes clinging to their skin. And in the faint moonlight, I saw that their face wasn't right. It looked swollen, pale, like something that had been in the water for too long. I stumbled back, hit the hallway wall, and when I looked again, the window was empty. Just the soft ripple of the curtain and the sound of the lake outside. The next morning, I found muddy handprints all over the glass, inside and out, and a puddle of water by my bed that hadn't dried by noon. That night, I slept in my car with the engine running. I didn't look back at the house once, because in the reflection of the rearview mirror, I could still see her standing by the lake, watching me leave, and smiling. The sound beneath the heat. The summer heat was unbearable that year, the kind that sticks to your skin, making it hard to breathe. I'd gone out to stay with my aunt in a small rural town, miles away from anything familiar. Her house sat alone on a dirt road surrounded by tall grass and whispering trees. No neighbors, no cell service. Just heat, bugs, and silence. The nights were the worst. The air didn't cool down, it just got heavier. The crickets screamed, and the floorboards of the house groaned like they were alive. My aunt always went to bed early, leaving me alone downstairs, sweating, listening to the sounds outside. One night, as I sat by the open window, I heard something strange. Not the usual cicadas or frogs. This was slower, deeper. A scraping sound like something heavy being dragged through the grass. It came from the direction of the old barn behind the house. At first, I ignored it. It's summer, I thought. Animals move around. But then I heard breathing. Not mine, Not close, but just far enough that I couldn't tell if it was real. I leaned closer to the window. The night was pitch black except for the faint orange glow of the porch light. Then the light flickered once, twice, and went out. I held my breath. The scraping sound stopped. Silence fell so suddenly it rang in my ears. I shut the window and locked it, trying to laugh it off, but the house felt different. Too still. I went to bed, but I couldn't sleep. Every few minutes I thought I heard footsteps on the porch, slow and dragging. When I woke up the next morning, there were smears of dirt on the window glass, as if someone had pressed their face against it. I told my aunt, but she just frowned and said the wind probably blew leaves against it. I didn't argue. That night, it happened again. Same time, same sound. Only this time I saw something. Out past the trees, a tall, thin shape standing in the heat haze, barely moving. I stared, frozen. The thing tilted its head slowly, like it knew I was watching. My flashlight was on the table just a few feet away, but I couldn't make myself move. The shape stepped forward, one leg dragging behind the other, scraping through the dry grass. I backed away from the window, heart hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. I tripped over the rug, hit the floor, and when I looked back, the figure was gone. The next morning, the ground outside the window was disturbed. The grass flattened in a long trail, leading back toward the barn. My aunt told me not to go near it, said the place was dangerous, said something about an old well that had been boarded up years ago. That afternoon, I couldn't help it. I went to the barn. The air inside was thick and smelled like rot. I found the boards over the well, old, splintered wood nailed together in a crude cross. There were fresh fingerprints in the dust. That night I heard it again, only closer. The sound wasn't coming from outside anymore. It was coming from under the floor. And when I pressed my ear to the boards, I swear I heard someone whisper my name. From beneath the house. The thing in the field. The summer heat that year was unbearable, the kind that makes the air shimmer and turns your skin sticky just from breathing. I'd gone to stay at my friend Dylan's family farm for a week, far from the city. The property stretched for miles, just endless golden fields, an old house, and a single dirt road that disappeared into the horizon. It should have been peaceful. But from the first night, something felt off. The crickets didn't sound right. They'd stop all at once, like something was moving through the fields. Every few hours, the wind would carry a strange, low sound across the wheat. Not quite a voice, but not the wind either. On the third night, the air was so hot it felt alive. I couldn't sleep, so I stepped outside to cool off, if you could even call it that. The moon was half hidden behind the haze, glowing dull and orange. The wheat shifted softly, but the air was still. I remember thinking it looked like the field was breathing. Then I saw it. A shape, tall, thin, and too still, standing deep in the wheat, just far enough that I couldn't see its face. For a second I thought it was Dylan. But when I whispered his name, the thing tilted its head slowly, like it was listening. Then it crouched down, vanishing into the stalks. I froze. The crickets went dead silent. The whole field seemed to hold its breath. A moment later, I heard it. Soft footsteps, the sound of something moving through the wheat toward me. I backed away slowly, my throat dry. "Dylan?" I called again, my voice cracking. No answer, just the rustle. Faster now. I ran back into the house, slammed the door, and locked it. Dylan came out of his room, groggy and confused. When I told him what I saw, his face went pale. He said, "You shouldn't have looked out there." Dad says it doesn't like being seen. I thought he was joking, until I noticed the dirt smudges on the windowsill. Long, thin fingerprints, still wet with dew. We stayed up all night, lights on, listening. Around 3 a.m., something brushed against the outside wall. Slow, deliberate. Then the soft crunch of footsteps circling the house. When the sun finally came up, we went outside. The wheat near the porch was flattened in a perfect circle, like something had been standing there all night. That evening, Dylan's dad nailed wooden boards over all the windows and told us not to go outside after dark. He said, "In this heat, things wake up that shouldn't." The last night I stayed there, I woke up to whispering, faint, hoarse, and right outside the wall near my bed. It was saying my name, slow and wrong, dragging it out like it didn't quite understand how to speak. When I left the next morning, the road out shimmered with heat. I looked back one last time, and through the waving gold of the field, I saw a tall figure standing where the house met the horizon, its head tilted toward me. It didn't move. It just waited, and I don't think it ever stopped. The last summer night. It was supposed to be the best night of the summer. My friends and I had rented a small beachside cabin, peeling paint, sandy floors, and a view of the ocean that made everything feel endless. For a week, we'd done nothing but swim, drink, and stay up until sunrise, pretending the world outside that beach didn't exist. It was perfect, or at least it was supposed to be. On our last night, everyone crashed early after too much rum and sun. But I couldn't sleep. The heat pressed against me like a blanket, sticky and suffocating. The sound of the waves outside seemed to pull at me, a steady rhythm calling me toward the water. I slipped out quietly, not wanting to wake anyone. The sand was still warm under my feet, and the moon was bright enough to paint everything silver. The dunes, the old lifeguard tower, even the broken shells glinting along the shore. For a while, it felt peaceful. But then I saw the footprints. They started near the waterline, deep and wide, as if someone heavy had walked straight out of the ocean. Bare feet. Human, but far too large. The prints glistened in the moonlight, and when I crouched down to look closer, the edges were still wet, fresh. I followed them, my heartbeat quickening with every step. The footprints trailed up the beach toward our cabin, but halfway there, they just stopped. No sign of anyone. No turn, no end. Just gone. Like whoever it was had been lifted off the ground. That's when I noticed something tangled in the sand nearby, a charm bracelet coated in seaweed. It was Mia's. She'd lost it 2 days ago while swimming. I picked it up, cold and slick in my hand. "Mia?" I whispered, though I knew she was asleep inside. That's when I heard it. A voice. It came from behind me, low and drawn out, like someone calling from underwater. My name, stretched and bubbling through the night air. I turned around slowly. Nothing. Just the endless black ocean. But then the sand shifted. The footprints, the ones that had stopped, began to fill again, one by one, as if something unseen was walking back toward the waves. Each step pressed deep, slow, deliberate. I couldn't move. The night felt thick, heavy, like the air itself didn't want me to breathe. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw movement in the surf. A shape rising, tall and dripping, its outline just visible against the moonlight. That broke me. I ran. I didn't look back. The sand seemed to grab at my ankles, sucking me down as I sprinted to the cabin. When I slammed the door shut, the whole place shook. For a second, there was silence. Then, 3 knocks. Slow, even, on the door I'd just locked. I didn't answer. I just sat there, staring at the handle, waiting for it to turn. It never did. When morning came, my friends laughed it off, said I must have been dreaming. But when I tried to show them Mia's bracelet, it wasn't there. Just a handful of damp sand where I swore I'd held it. We left that afternoon. No one talked much on the drive home. But sometimes when I lie awake at night, I swear I still hear the ocean. The waves crash once, twice, then pause. And in that pause, there it is. 3 knocks. Always 3.